This summer, Simon Moro, Terry Hart, Knobs, an audio production podcast. Remember to like and subscribe.
We're going to improvise these podcasts across a subject.
Mm-hmm.
And Terry's idea for the first one is why analog is better than digital.
Because it hasn't been done before, you know. I don't think anyone's even... Why haven't people been talking about
People
this?
don't even know what analog is.
No, they don't.
Analog has never actually even been invented.
Why does my plugin look rusty?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got this thing that models the software really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, the twist is that we're going to approach it from a different angle.
Yeah. Not going to talk about
75 degrees.
Not sonics. They've probably been done to death, talking about the differences there. But there are differences which are probably a bit more subtle, a bit more psychological to do with workflow and to do with your attitude towards audio that I think is a big part of the difference between the two.
Yeah. So you like analog.
I do.
And digital.
Yep.
So we're not in one camp versus the other.
Oh, hell no.
But I think we would like to share as users of analog and as engineers that started on analog systems, there are a lot of benefits that people overlook because just the lack of opportunity to work in an analog space. So yeah, these are non-sonic things. Maybe we'll nerd out on some sonic related stuff as well. Can't help ourselves.
It's possible.
But yeah, let's talk about some of those differences that are beneficial for the analog side of things.
So should we begin with the console?
Start with the console.
Console's cool. It's big. It's immediate. And I think that's the hugest thing. I don't know about you, but everything magic that happens in a mix for me happens in the first 20, 30 minutes. You're objective, and the quicker you can be and the more you can get done in that 20 or 30 minutes is going to make the mix a lot better in the end. So the console's it's right for that. I can put a low pass filter on a channel at the other end. I can throw faders around. I can get a really quick balance. Jumping around with a mouse is slow. It's painful. And there's something about a DAW which encourages you to go to a channel and to sit on it and to mess around with plugins and to go through menus. And it slows things down. It takes you out of it too much.
Yeah. Do you know, I think that the speed side of the analog workflow is the single greatest difference. We can talk about the sonic stuff and is there a difference? I believe so. You believe so.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the difference in the speed and the impact that has on the sound of a song and the feel of a song is difficult to understate.
Absolutely.
It's like if you had to write your song on guitar one note at a time, that's mixing with a mouse.
Yeah.
If you can pick up the guitar and strum the chord, that's the console. And yes, certainly something that we were talking about this earlier today in the hallway of the studio, about, reminiscing about when we first started.
Because things have changed.
Things have changed.
Yeah.
And something we might touch on later is the understanding of signal flow in the analog domain. When it was the only way to do it, that knowledge was required, and in the digital domain
and enforced
and enforced. Yeah,
the studio owner would come and slap you on the back of the head if you saw a red light. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in the DAW, you can actually mix a song and not understand what's going on in the pipes.
Absolutely. How many hip hop stems have you got where they're just peaked out and they got massive patches of distortion, which I don't know how they arrived like that or how that wasn't heard, but
it was the sound. It was the sound.
It was the sound.
Yeah. And look, we're not denying happy accidents, and I love the thing I love most about digital is that it empowers people that would have been unable to access an analog system, and that's great.
Yeah.
But I think that without knowing what you're missing, it's almost like the inability to reach your potential. And bringing it back to the point you made before, the speed would be the biggest thing. The biggest thing for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the longer you take to work on something, the more analytical you get. And when you're looking at a plugin setting, you've got that visual brain feedback loop.
Yeah, exactly.
You're focusing on the dial instead of the sound. And if you wanted to move from channel 48 to channel 2, it's actually quite laborious to scroll, move the mouse around, scroll, open up this other instance, open up this other instance. It's so cumbersome that you never benefit from the immediacy of that instant result of.
And you miss out on it, but there's so much work to do in a mix that the slightest hurdle will just stop you from doing it. Like you sit there and go, oh, there is too much low mids in that synth, but I'll get to it. When it's just a knob you can just reach for while you're doing something else, you just do it. And that makes it mixing more than just making a bunch of good sounds, where I'm trying to sculpt this bass drum and that synth is an issue. I'll just quickly put a low pass on it. I might mess with it later. I might not. And a big issue with a lot of DAW production these days is that everything is getting treatment when it really doesn't need it. Something nice about looking at a console and you don't really know at a glance whether the EQ's on, whether the insert's in.
Yeah.
So if it sounds good, you probably are not going to reach for it. But if there's an issue, you'll look at it and go, okay, maybe we'll put this EQ in, or maybe I'll patch this compressor. But it doesn't look like it's bare. I hate looking at Pro Tools and it looks bare when you've got nothing on it, because it's what it sounds like. And sometimes it sounds perfect because you'll be encouraged to want to fill the gaps.
It's true, yeah.
It's magic.
It is.
It was a magic time.
In this moment, as we're having this conversation, something occurred to me which could be the biggest difference between the analog workflow and the digital workflow. And that is, and this is excluding consoles that emulate analog workflow, like we both use D controls.
Yes, yeah.
It's the difference between parallel workflow and series. When you're working with the mouse, you can only ever address the tasks in series.
Yeah.
Whereas with analog, you can do parallel task processing. Like your example before is what made me think about it, is that, you can be working on the bass and then hear that the low end of the piano is getting in the way, reach across, high pass the piano, and keep working on the bass.
Yes, yeah. Or just simple as turn it down.
Yeah.
Just grab the fader and throw it down. But even if you're moving a mouse all the way across, that's more effort than just flicking it with your finger.
Yeah.
And so you're always balancing. Look, you've always given the example of balancing drums. It's just impossible with a mouse. When you have 20 faders in front of you and you can just like massage them and get them into a spot, how quickly you can do that and how satisfied you will be with what you get. Yeah. It's unparalleled. Yeah.
And a result that you would never get to one fader at a time.
And it got nothing to do with the sonics of the console.
Nothing to do with the sonics of the console.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the other thing that I touched on before is when you're forced to have a deep understanding of signal flow. But when I look at Pro Tools, I see cables because for me, Pro Tools is the digital version of the analog console that I learned on.
Yeah, yeah.
And for anyone that has only ever worked with the screen, I would ask the question, when you look at it, do you see the cables? Do you see the audio running through the wires?
It's called a plugin for a reason.
Yeah,
you plugged it in.
Yeah. So I think that the analog forces you to understand the signal flow, and you were talking about gain staging as well, which is important. Well,
that's it. I mean, a lot of those bits of gear, those classic bits of gear, people throw up the plug-in, but they don't act nicely unless you're really hitting it the right way. Certain things you can hit hard and they will do something funky, but most of it's designed to work at line level, which is a long way down in your DAW.
Yeah.
Minus 18 for most people. And you get these crazy hot tracks and they will be used in digital emulations. And if they're good digital emulations, they'll be taken into account, but you're absolutely mincing the sound. It's not going to do good things to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, another thing that can't be understated is learning signal flow in analog domain.
Yeah. Exactly what it means to move things around.
Because it gives you two things. It gives you the ability to solve any signal related troubleshooting issue. When you understand signal flow is linear and it always flows output to input. If you're not getting signal flow, with the exception of faulty equipment, signal flow will solve that problem. Signal flow will get you the signal. Without the understanding of signal flow, you require plugin manufacturers to come up with some convoluted signal chain, parallel signal chain, to give you some interesting effect.
Mix knob, case in point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas,
which they're massively useful, but there was a reason why we used to do that on a separate channel. And again, it would come back to immediacy. Mix knobs are great, but they're in a plugin window which is closed.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was on a fader and in one part of the song I just wanted to pump a word to make it a bit more gritty with a distortion thing or more reverb or whatever.
Yeah.
Having it there and not on a mix knob, that was the idea, immediacy and being as quick as you could with it. Yeah, exactly.
So with your stock standard plugins in any DAW and a deep understanding of signal flow, you can create complex parallel processing chains. Like, for example, like we could improvise one now. We could have 3 stereo auxes, put the low frequencies into one, mid frequencies into the other, highs into the other. You could use the Haas effect on the high frequencies and maybe put a chorus on it and a room reverb. You could put in the mids, we could have a quarter note filtered delay and have it super compressed. And in the low end, we could
R-bass.
We could use R-bass, sure. Exactly. And so now we've got one send, an aux send going to those 3 aux returns through those filters. And, in 30 seconds, we improvised a multispectral effect that no one's done before using stock plugins.
Yeah, you're not going to get it. There's not a preset for it, and it's going to be creative. Like, or a lot of these bits of gear or plugins have a certain sound, but they also have a short come in, and you could use that. In that example, we could say that 1176 mints is the top end. We'll put it on the mids. We could say that. Tape saturation is sort of making the bottom end woolly, but it makes the top sound sweet. Well, then just put it on the tops, and you can, but understanding signal flow, as you say, all of that is doable.
Yeah.
And there's even been plugins that have tried to encourage that. Like I know Sound Toys did a bit of a matrix type plugin where you could put bits and pieces of their stuff wherever you wanted it. But you've got a DAW. Yeah. You can do that.
Exactly. Well, I suppose talking about how do you get close to that analog workflow in the digital space, and the answer is control surfaces.
Yeah, they do help, definitely.
And
the little things. It's like I was like an 1176. The only way you can really make it function and be objective about what you're hearing is to do the input and output at once, because there's not a threshold control. Yeah. So with the mouse, undoable. With the controller, easy as anything. Yeah. Pull text, attenuate and boost at the same time. All of that sort of thing is undoable with just a mouse.
Yeah. So we like the Avid D controls because for Pro Tools, it's got an incredibly deep integration and you don't have the issues with latency, but there are lots of different controllers. For a while, I had the Softube Console 1, which was really great. Again, just the ability to dial things in. I like that you could navigate it. So the way I used it was vocals was always on a particular number. Yeah. Bass was always on a particular number. So in my mix template, I could retain the muscle memory and just hit the button and know that I was EQing the vocal. What did you use? Do you have I remember there were other control, like little like SSL style EQ controllers. Do you remember those?
I had the analog console for quite a while, but I'd always have a controller just for doing little bits of automation in the door. But I've used things like the fader port. I've used a lot of the Avid stuff. It's, I've been through a fair few bits and pieces. Yeah.
So there are lots, and I would, again, we're sitting in a room with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, of analog gear. But if someone said, you could only take 3 things to the desert island, the monitors, the computer with the door, and my console that is a digital control surface that gives me analog workflow.
Yeah.
Because even though we're not allowed to talk about the sound of analog, and I love the sound of analog, and it gets me to places faster, and it does things that digital does not do, I would still pick the analog workflow in a digital system, because I believe that workflow affects the sound and the feeling more than the gear alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've done this. I've done a lot of remote mixing where there's a lot of analog gear, but it's inserts. So you are doing in the door mixing aside from turning around and getting a compressor set in. And I'd go for the analog workflow with the digital sounds over the digital workflow with the analog sounds.
Yeah.
Just night and day.
Yeah, 100%. The other thing is, people that may not have had the opportunity to experience that analog workflow, it might be sort of counterintuitive, but you can hire a studio. So anyone that's kind of serious about, like, I want to up my game, I want to learn the skills, like, do yourself a favor and experience the other side.
Yeah, even with 5 of your mates, even if that's
exactly
what your budget is, but just do it. Yeah.
Just book it for the day. There'll be an assistant to help you out, and just do it as market research. Because if you get there and you try a space out and find that it makes no difference whatsoever, well, you've spent a nominal amount of money to know that for you don't need to change.
Exactly.
But if you go and have that different experience, well, then you've just unlocked greater capacity in your ability with something to strive for, and you don't need to own a studio to access it.
But it is free. Well, it's not free learning, but it's effective learning.
Yeah,
you could watch 1,000 YouTube videos and not pick up just those changes of like headspace that you get from just doing that. Yeah,
even if I go back, if I think about the first studio that I worked in, the recording side was digital. It was ADATs. It was a 24 track ADAT system, 3 of the Alesis ADATs.
Yep.
And
I remember those.
Yeah. And it was a 24 fader, like 48 at return, at mix down, bearing a clone of the Mackie 24.
So
you had your mix B and whatnot. And in that studio, I feel like we might have had 6 compressors.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I feel like we had 1 reverb, the Alesis MIDI verb.
Yeah.
And there might have been a couple of reverbs, but there wouldn't have been more than 2. So we have 24 tracks coming out of the ADAT into the console, 1 or 2 reverbs, handful of compressors. Oh, we had gates as well.
Yeah.
And what you could do today is take your multi-tracks, take them to a studio, and just experience throwing analog faders with 1 or 2 reverbs on an aux send, maybe a handful of compressors. Like that. That'd be a great experience.
It would. It's just a great experience to see how much swing you have in analog faders in an analog console into an analog mix bus. It's very, very touchy digital getting levels, but you throw up faders on an analog console, and if it was within 10 dB of where you wanted it, it's going to work.
Yeah.
Not much nudging. It's heavy-handed.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah. We were talking about this the other day. We're both schooled by Michael Brower, who's a fan of throwing faders.
Very much so.
And we were talking about how on an analog console, you really can push and pull those faders quite rapidly and quite dramatically. But if we do it in Pro Tools, it just does not respond in the same way.
No.
It does not have the same granularity.
Yeah.
And speed of an analog fader.
It makes him mix like a pussy.
Yeah, exactly. Meow.
Another plus for analog.
Yeah.
Which isn't Sonics.
Yeah.
But it's all Sonics, so.
It is. Well, it's all feeling. So, yeah, I guess in summary, rather than live in denial, find a way to
Egypt's dicey at the moment.
Try an analog console just for fun. You could even just for the experience, you could get a secondhand,
It doesn't matter what it is. There's plenty of live consoles. If you have your local pub have a live thing, there's no reason why you can get some headphones and just have a play with that.
Exactly.
But do your EQing. Do the whole thing, like just pretend it was a mix and see how fun it is to be able to just, be able to run around that console really, really quickly.
Yeah. And I would suspect that after that, some kind of digital interface to give you some analog workflow would probably quickly come to the top of your priority list.
Yeah, which the SSL ones are very workable for that.
Yeah. And you just touched on something else, which is often overlooked in these conversations, which is the fun.
Yeah.
Actually having to stand up. Like we have to stand up and walk halfway across the room to make a change. And it's great. It forces you listen to the mix in a different place in the room.
Yeah.
You're not static. You're up. You might be more encouraged to groove with the music, to feel the music.
You've got away from the video game. You're not looking at the screen. You're listening. And also you're not listening. You might run across and the artist or your assistant will ask a question, and so you're not listening, and you explain something, and then, oh God, that tambourine really is a bit cutting. Yeah. You'd be amazed how that shines a light.
Yeah.
That's why, and I'd love to walk into the patch bay for that reason. You just start to think about things a little bit differently. When I had to change a compressor back in the day when I was, doing an SSL mix, I'd have to get up, as you said, go over, walk, grab some patch leads, repatch it, find it on the patch bay, maybe even turn a light on because I liked it dim, and then go turn on the piece of analog gear. That was a big effort.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would not do it. Like if I heard something, if I plugged it in and it wasn't right, I would immediately go and do it. It was not even a question. Whereas these days I see a lot of younger students that I work with, they'll put a compressor on and they will dial it until they're blue in the face.
Yeah.
And it's just not working. It's the wrong compressor. It was way harder for me to go change it manually, but we were just in the habit of doing it.
Yeah.
You can put every esoteric compressor onto a channel in Pro Tools.
Yeah.
And just unbypass one at a time. And I guarantee one of them will be, oh yeah, that's way better.
One of them will instantly feel
and then
better.
maybe dial it then. But the idea that something's just not right for the job often doesn't occur to people in the digital domain, weirdly.
Yeah.
And it's easier to do that.
Yeah.
And
to drive that point home, because this is about staying, well, first of all, the effort, which is, the effort to patch and you're still doing it versus people getting stuck in a plug-in interface for hours and hours and hours, which is like less effort than moving the other side, but it's actually way more energy just staring at this thing. When you're doing that, you're in the wrong hemisphere of the brain.
Yeah, yeah.
And just to really, really experience this, next time you're in flow in a song, so mixing a song and actually where you're almost not touching anything because you're just enjoying the music. So you're in the zone, you're grooving, your body's moving, the song feels great. You're just in flow, maybe a little touch here, little touch there. This is great, feeling good, feeling good, feeling good. Then you notice something's out of tune and you bring up Melodyne. How do you feel? You instantly have disconnected from the song.
Yeah. Because
you're now in analytical mind, not the creative hemisphere. You're in the left brain.
It's too easy to do.
And that's what happens when you're staring at a plugin, you're in the wrong half of your brain. Whereas if you are not looking at a screen and you're just feeling dials and listening, and you can do it quickly because, as Terry mentioned before, you can touch multiple dials and faders at the same time. You move quickly. How, on average, Terry, how long would you spend pulling up a setting on analog or on digital?
On like a single channel?
When you're in flow mixing.
I mean, yeah, it's seconds.
It's
like
seconds.
I don't reach for it because I'm like, okay, channel 13's done, onto channel 14. This is going to need EQ compression and whatever. No, it's like I heard an issue when I turned up the guitar because it was fighting with the piano. And so I'll just go to the piano and just pull out something that's going to make it better and go back to whatever I was doing. And and build it that way. Because it is mixing. And look, that's another reason why the analog workflow really drilled that home to think that way, because you didn't have endless bits and pieces. You had one 1176, let's say, and it's a great compressor. Well, you go to your patch bay and you plug in the 1176 and you look at the inserts and go, oh, man, that sounds really good on bass, but I think the bass synth's more important in this song.
Yeah.
And that's told you something in your head already. You know that you've written off the bass to a point.
Yeah.
But in the door, you leave that decision way too late. You sit there and you do it, but you make that decision instantly, and bang, all those decisions feed into the others, and you never get bogged down on anything. But no, we don't. You'd be the same. We don't sit there on a plug-in and think about it. We do the job, we get out, we move on to the next thing.
Yeah. And later on, I might listen and think maybe I've done a little bit too much compression on that thing, or maybe I've carved a bit too much out of that instrument. But in the moment, it's so quick.
Yeah. Yeah. You can always go back and adjust that decision. That's another thing which gets lost where, like, okay, that's perfect now. People get married to a sound. It's like that acoustic guitar sounds perfect. It sounded perfect at the start of the mix.
Yeah, in the completely different context.
Now it's different. Everything else is brighter, and it started to sound dull. Why commit to what happened? It was good then, but we've moved on. Go and bump it up, and then move to something else, and keep bouncing between. And that was the amazing thing about mixing on an SSL. You could get a mix in 20 minutes done. Everything else is details. I want a delay on for that word. I want to have some scene change. I want to get into automation. But the sound that you're getting within that 20 minutes, just being able to work that quickly is incredible. And 90% of clients would be wrapped just to get that straight off the desk. Yeah. This is why I don't charge by the hour. Yeah. I charge by the day.
Charge by the song. Yeah. Cool. Well, hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
I mean, I could go for days.
But I feel like a good place to print the mix.
Yeah. Let's print the mix.
All right.
We don't want to overcook it, right?
Don't want to overcook it.
Yeah.
Remember to like and subscribe.